In the year 2184, Earth spun quietly in its arm of the galaxy, a speck of blue largely ignored by the wider interstellar community. The great empires beyond the solar system scarcely gave it thought. In the vast annals of the galactic concord, Earth was a backwater world, its people brilliant in pockets but irrelevant in scale. No war fleets orbited it, no trade routes passed nearby, and no diplomatic envoys visited its halls. And that was exactly how Commander Ilera liked it. Ilera had grown up watching the stars through a cracked observatory dome in the Arctic Reclamation Zone. Her childhood spent tracing constellations while solar storms danced beyond the horizon. By 16, she'd outflown every simulator in the Academy. By 20, she was rewriting maneuver protocols for the Lunar Defense Fleet. Now 32, she walked corridors no civilian knew existed, far beneath the surface of Earth's moon, where Project Lucent Horizon remained hidden from even Earth's own governments. The air in the underground complex was dry and metallic and filled with the hum of machines thinking too fast for human ears. Engineers moved like silent ghosts through the halls, each bound by oaths and implants ensuring secrecy. Ilera's boots echoed lightly as she approached Bay 12, her fingers flexing in nervous anticipation. Spectre 1 is prepped and waiting, said Dr. Kaito Verne, the project's lead physicist. He was lean, perpetually sleep-deprived, and his voice trembled not with fear, but awe. "Give me the diagnostics," Ilera replied, accepting the data tablet he offered. Her eyes scanned lines of figures. Hull stress, energy matrix integrity, temporal dilation factors. All green. "This isn't just a flight," Kaito said quieter now. "This changes everything." Ilera nodded but said nothing. She had long accepted the weight of it. The pulse-fold resonator, an experimental FTL drive powered by quantum-woven antimatter threads, had worked flawlessly in lab models, but today would be its first true test. She would leave the solar system, jump to Proxima Centauri, and return before her coffee could cool. If it worked, the Spectre 1 was sleek and matte black, as much weapon as it was ship, designed to fold space and pierce it, not merely traverse. It hummed with restrained potential, like a beast waiting to be unshackled. Inside the cockpit, Ilera slid into the cradle, neural links synchronizing with her nervous system. The interface pulsed in her vision, calm blues and silvers, synchronized breathing, system readiness, pre-jump countdown. "Spectre 1, your go for jump," came the voice of mission control. She could hear the tightness in the controller's tone, the barely suppressed terror. If the math was wrong, if the field destabilized, if the fold didn't reemerge properly, Ilera exhaled slowly. Spectre 1 initiating fold in 3, 2, 1. There was no flash, no sound. One moment she was above Luna. The next, stars were wrong, brighter, shifted. Her instruments confirmed it. For 0.24 light-years from Sol, Proxima Centauri. She'd done it. A strange quiet settled over her as she stared at the ruddy light of the alien star. No confetti, no applause, just space and silence and the sudden realization that she was the first human to stand here, truly stand here in real time. Her return was instantaneous. She stepped out of the Spectre 1 to a crowd of stunned faces, some cheering, some crying. Kaito was shaking, murmuring equations like a prayer. Cameras recorded everything, but none would transmit. The world could not know. "Not yet. You realize what you've done?" Kaito asked, his voice hoarse. "The universe just became smaller." "No," Ilera said quietly. "It just got closer." Celebration was short-lived. The following morning, Ilera sat alone in the observation deck, watching Earth rise. She liked these moments, silent, suspended above the world she protected. But something itched at the edge of her awareness, an unease she couldn't explain. Then came the alert. Kaito burst in, eyes wide. "We picked up a spike, off-grid surveillance telemetry. Someone out there saw the fold." Ilera stood. "Who?" "We don't know, but it wasn't Earth-based. The signature came from somewhere past the Oort cloud. It's alien." A chill gripped her. They had moved so carefully, buried the project in layers of secrecy. But the truth of the universe was that no action happened in isolation. They had lit a flare in the dark, and someone had seen it. That night, Ilara reviewed the telemetry herself. The pulse emission from the fold had echoed faintly, a ripple in the subspace lattice. Not strong, but unusual, like a voice in a silent room. And something had answered with a ping. Not human, not terrestrial. By morning, 2 more pings arrived. Someone was listening. The UDD, the United Defense Directorate, met in emergency session. Generals, politicians, strategists. Most were furious. Some were afraid. Ilara stood before them, surrounded by men and women who had never flown a ship, trying to convince them of what came next. "We can't stop now," she said. "The technology is viable. We can use it to expand, defend, outmaneuver anything they throw at us." A voice cut through the room. "Or provoke a war we cannot win." The room went silent. Kaido stepped forward. "They won't ignore us now. Whether we share or hide, whether we pause or push, our hand has been revealed." Ilara looked at the faces around her, some defiant, others pale. The future had arrived faster than anyone expected, and it was no longer theirs to delay. Later, in the hangar, she stared at Spectre 1, its hull still glowing faintly with residual fold energy. Beneath the floor, technicians ran simulations for long-range recon missions. Above her, satellites adjusted orbits, preparing to track threats Earth had never imagined would exist. The final confirmation came in the form of a broken message, decoded from the subspace channel. Just 5 words. "Observed. Location logged. Await contact." Ilara stared at the transmission until her eyes blurred. The stars outside no longer seemed so distant. They were coming, and Earth would be ready. The subspace message had spread like a virus across the stars. 5 simple words, spoken in a language no one should have known, transmitted on a frequency no one should have heard. Observed. Location logged. Await contact. For most worlds, it was a curiosity, an oddity dismissed with a flick of a bureaucrat's stylus. But for those who understood the implications, it was a spark in dry grass. 3 days after Earth's first FTL jump, the Valari Ascendancy initiated a classified sub-council session on Rest Prime. Inside a chamber grown from bioluminescent stone, Valari matriarch Ceres lowered her hood and exposed a face shaped by centuries of genetic sculpting. Her features were sharp and inhumanly elegant, her silver skin rippling faintly with emotion. "Earth has breached the threshold," she said. "A primitive world has split the fold. That alone would warrant caution. But this was done without petition, without Concord oversight. It is an act of defiance. They are not even members of the Accord," another delegate hissed. "They don't know the laws." Ceres's eyes narrowed. Ignorance is not innocence. While the Valari debated sanctions and surgical interventions, far from the polished cities of rest, the Kryn Syndicate met aboard a rusting asteroid station orbiting a dead moon. The Kryn did not argue in polished halls. They carved decisions into blood-slick steel. Varn Crick, warlord of the Southern Reaches, slammed his fist onto a cracked table. "A new FTL route means new spoils," he growled. "They don't know the rules, which means they won't see us coming." Beside him, a cybernetically enhanced lieutenant grinned. "Earth's colonies are barely defended. We hit them fast, strip their tech, vanish before they know what happened." Crick nodded. "Begin staging. And find out who this Ilara Wynn is. If she can fly through folded space, she's worth more than the tech." Back on Earth, Ilara stood before a digital map littered with pings, surveillance traces, communication anomalies, unexplained distortions. Each one a knock on the door of a house that had tried to stay hidden. "We're being watched from every direction," Kaido murmured. "We've gone from ghosts to targets overnight." The UDD had already dispatched coded signals to Earth's outer colonies, warning them to go dark. Civilian satellites were being reprogrammed to look inward, not out. Ilara had proposed building a perimeter defense net, early warning systems, orbital relays, but it would take months, and the storm was already forming. "Has anyone responded directly?" she asked. "One," Kaido said, "a relay from the Tolerant Union. Not hostile. A request for diplomatic exchange." Ilara frowned. "And the others?" He hesitated. The Valari have shifted assets toward Sol Sector. The Kryn have gone silent. The silence was worse than open threat. When the first attack came, it wasn't what they expected. Titan's mining station, dormant for weeks due to atmospheric instability, was lit up like a beacon. An entire fleet of Kryn raiders emerged from fold space, their ships jagged and crude but fast. Faster than Earth's response could ever be. Within 15 minutes, the facility was gone. Hundreds dead, thousands unaccounted for. The footage arrived encrypted, relayed by a drone that barely made out alive. Ilera watched in the war room, her jaw set as flames danced across Titan's methane-rich sky. The station's final transmission repeated 3 times. No warning, no demands, just fire. "Prepare Spectre 1, she said. "We're done playing silent." The mission brief was simple. Retaliate, disrupt, scatter. A surgical strike at a known Kryn staging point near the edge of Sol's influence. Ilera's flight group, 3 vessels, each outfitted with prototype FTL beacons, jumped without warning. They arrived mid-rotation of the Kryn base. Unshielded, underarmed, not expecting a fight. Ilera didn't hesitate. She targeted their fuel depots first, volatile, exposed, perfect pressure points. Within 90 seconds, 2/3 of the base was ash. The rest tried to run. They didn't make it. When the jump home completed, Kaido was already waiting in the hangar. "We've intercepted their comms," he said. "They're calling you the Ghost Commander." Ilera peeled off her flight gloves. Good. Let them fear the dark. But the retaliation did more than send a message. It accelerated everything. Within hours, the Valari declared Earth a rogue technological insurgency. The Concord began debating intervention articles. The Toleree Union sent a formal delegation, cloaked in ritual and caution. Ilera met them personally at Luna Base. The Toleree were not warlike, but their intellect made them dangerous. Tall, translucent skinned, their voices had a rhythm that seemed almost musical. Their envoy introduced herself as Marin, and despite the tension, her tone remained measured. "We do not come as enemies," Marin said. "You have crossed a threshold few survive. You must understand. Faster-than-light travel is not merely an achievement. It is a declaration. You have said to the stars, 'We are not content with the walls we were born within.' That has consequences." "We know," Ilera said. Marin studied her, head tilted. "Then know this. The Concord does not allow unregulated FTL technology. Every species that developed it was either guided or culled." Ilera didn't flinch. "And which do you intend to do?" The alien offered a faint smile. "Neither. Not yet." The meeting ended with an offer of shared oversight. Earth would retain control of its technology but submit to annual audits, energy caps, and Concord presence in critical facilities. The UDD was split. Some saw it as survival, others as surrender. Ilera saw it as a cage. She returned to the observation deck that evening, her mind racing. Kaido joined her in silence, both watching the stars. "You know they'll never accept us," she said finally, "no matter what treaties we sign." "They're afraid," he replied. "You showed them that even a quiet world can crack the sky." She turned to face him. "Then let them hear the thunder." 2 days later, during a routine scan of subspace layers, Earth's deep relay network detected something disturbing, a mass acceleration event outside Neptune's orbit. Not random, organized, predictive, a fleet, hundreds of signatures, all matching Valari or Kryn configurations, en route to Sol at a fraction of light. Not a war probe. An armada. UDD went into lockdown. The president was evacuated to the Atlas Deep Vault. All orbital installations were armed. Earth's moon bases went dark. Ilera sat alone in the cockpit of Spectre 1, watching the readings come in. "Estimated arrival?" she asked. Kaido's voice came through the comm. 36 hours. She closed her eyes. The universe had heard Earth's voice, and it was coming to silence it. The command center of Luna Base was a hive of activity, bathed in the cold glow of holographic displays projecting the ominous approach of the alien armada. Officers and analysts moved with a frenetic energy, their voices a murmur of urgency and apprehension. Amidst this storm of activity, Commander Larawin stood as the eye, her present a calm anchor in the swirling chaos. Kaido Vern, the lead physicist whose brilliance had birthed the pulse-fold resonator, approached with a data pad clutched tightly in his hands. His usually composed demeanor was cracked, revealing the strain etched into his features. "Illyra," he began, his voice a taut wire tension. "The fleet's trajectory is unwavering. They'll breach Earth's defensive perimeter in less than 36 hours. Illyra's gaze remained fixed on the holographic projection, her mind a tempest of calculations and contingencies. "Casualties?" she inquired, her tone a measured blade. Kaido hesitated, the weight of his words pressing heavily upon him. "If they initiate a full-scale assault." He exhaled slowly, as if releasing the gravity of the situation with his breath. "Projections indicate catastrophic losses. Our defenses are formidable, but against such numbers—" The unspoken conclusion hung in the air like a guillotined shadow. Illyra's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing as she turned to face Kaido fully. "Then we must ensure it doesn't come to that," she declared, her voice a steely resolve that brooked no argument. She pivoted sharply, striding toward the central console where a cadre of officers awaited her directives. "Initiate Operation Veil," she commanded, her words igniting a flurry of activity as protocols were enacted and orders disseminated. Kaido's brow furrowed in confusion. "Veil? But that's still in experimental stages. We haven't—" Illyra cut him off with a raised hand, her gaze piercing. "We don't have the luxury of time, Kaido. Either we use every tool at our disposal, or we stand by and watch Earth burn." The room fell into a tense silence, the weight of her words settling over them like a shroud. Kaido swallowed hard, nodding reluctantly. "I'll oversee the preparations." As he departed, Illyra allowed herself a brief moment of solitude, her eyes drifting to the viewport where Earth hung suspended in the void, a fragile jewel against the abyss. Memories surged unbidden. Nights spent under Arctic skies, tracing constellations with her father's telescope. The first time she broke the sound barrier in a test flight. The whispered promises made to a younger brother before he succumbed to illness. Each recollection a thread woven into the tapestry of her resolve. The chime of an incoming transmission shattered her reverie. She straightened, smoothing the creases from her uniform before accepting the call. The visage of Marin, the Tollery envoy, materialized before her, the alien's translucent skin shimmering with iridescent hues. "Commander Wynne," Marin greeted, her tone a harmonious blend of concern and curiosity. "I have received intelligence regarding the approaching armada. The Concorde's response is divided." Illyra's eyes narrowed, her patience fraying. "Divided? While they deliberate, Earth stands on the precipice of annihilation." Marin inclined her head, a gesture of acknowledgement. "I understand your frustration. However, there is a faction within the Concorde sympathetic to your plight. They propose a mediation, a chance to de-escalate before blood is shed." Illyra's lips pressed into a thin line, the offer a bitter pill. "And what assurances do we have that this isn't a stalling tactic, giving the Armada time to tighten the noose?" Marin's gaze was unwavering, her sincerity palpable. "None. But consider the alternative. A war against forces that have subjugated worlds far more advanced than yours." The truth of Marin's words was an iron band around Illyra's chest, constricting with each beat of her heart. She exhaled slowly, the weight of command a tangible burden upon her shoulders. "Very well. Arrange the mediation. But know this, Earth will not go quietly into the night." Marin's expression softened, a flicker of respect in her alien eyes. "I would expect nothing less." The transmission ended, leaving Illyra alone with the specter of impending conflict. She turned back to the command center, her voice ringing out with the clarity of a bell. "Prepare the fleet, defensive positions, and ready Spectre 1. If this mediation fails, we'll need every advantage we can muster." The officers snapped to attention, the room a maelstrom of disciplined urgency. As plans were set into motion, Illyra allowed herself a fleeting glance at the stars beyond, each one a distant beacon of possibility and peril. In the depths of space, aboard the Kryn flagship, Warlord Varn Crick lounged upon his throne of twisted metal and bone, a predator awaiting the moment to strike. His cybernetic lieutenant approached, Bowing low, Warlord, the humans seek mediation through the Concord. Crick's lips peeled back in a feral grin, sharp teeth glinting. Let them grovel. It changes nothing. By the time their diplomats finish their prattle, Earth will be ours. The lieutenant hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty in his augmented eyes. And if they resist? Crick's laughter was a guttural rumble, the sound of the storm brewing. Then we shall teach them the folly of defiance. Prepare the boarding parties. I want their technology intact, especially their FTL drives. As the lieutenant departed to carry out his orders, Crick's gaze drifted to the viewport, where the distant glimmer of Sol beckoned. Soon, he murmured to himself, anticipation of fire in his veins. Back on Luna Base, Alara stood before Spectre One, her fingers trailing along its sleek, obsidian hull. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a symbol of humanity's audacity, a testament to their refusal to be bound by the chains of limitation. Kaito approached, his expression mosaic of concern and determination. The modifications are complete, but Alara, this mission, it's beyond dangerous. She turned to him, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. When has that ever stopped us? He chuckled softly, the sound of balm against the encroaching dread. Just come back in one piece. I'll do my best, she promised, clasping his shoulder briefly before sending the ramp into the ship. As the hatch sealed behind her, Alara settled into the pilot's seat, the controls familiar beneath her touch. The hum of the pulse fold resonator resonated through her bones, a reminder of the thin line between brilliance and madness they walked. Spectre One, you are clear for departure, came the voice from Mission Control. Understood, Alara responded, her voice steady as she initiated the launch sequence. The ship lifted gracefully, exiting the hangar and entering the void. Stars stretched and blurred as the FTL drive engaged, propelling her toward the unknown. As the fabric of space folded around her, Alara's thoughts were a whirlwind of strategy and hope. The mediation was a fragile thread, one that could easily snap under the chamber aboard the Volari Arbiter ship was built for spectacle. Smooth black obsidian, polished to a mirror's finish, lined the floor and ceiling. Stars shimmered overhead through a transparent dome, making the entire room feel as if it floated in the void itself. A singular dais rose in its center, circular and unadorned, flanked by seats that formed a ring of judgment. At the center stood Alara Wynn, eyes steady, posture composed. Around her loomed representatives of the Concord, Volari, Tolleri, Uran, and several species Earth had only encountered in blurred intelligence reports and deep archive files. A flickering translation field hovered above them, converting their disparate languages into a harmonized stream of comprehensible sound. Yet no translation could soften the hostility in their tone. She arrives with a stain of blood fresh upon her. A Volari elder said, his voice like wind across frost. Striking Kryn vessels without Concord sanction. Alara didn't flinch. They destroyed one of our colonies. Civilians. No warning, no provocation. We responded. Another voice, deep and layered with an echo that hinted at multiple minds, spoke. A Uran collective. Primitive retribution does not justify the rupture of interstellar law. Alara stepped forward, not out of disrespect, but out of necessity. We didn't ask for this war. We didn't even know your laws existed until days ago. But we're not going to stand by and let Earth become another footnote in your histories of subjugated species. A hush fell. Marin, seated among the Tolleri, met Alara's gaze and nodded. Subtly, the lead arbiter, a Volari known as High Ascendant Tresk, leaned forward. His gaze felt like a cold probe against Alara's thoughts. And yet you wield a weapon that violates every containment protocol we've set. A fold resonator built without regulation. Unauthorized travel between sectors. You've torn open corridors that haven't existed since the Dawn Conflict. Alara's voice dropped quieter, but no less firm. We didn't tear them open. We rediscovered them. Earth didn't steal FTL. We found our own way there. And now that we're here, we will not be leashed. Several murmurs rose, discord rippling through the tribunal. One of the Urans shifted, murmuring something to its neighbors in a tonal frequency the translator could barely process. Tresk's eyes narrowed. Your defiance is noted, but so is your achievement. No species in recent history has accomplished FTL alone. That makes your world unpredictable. Ilara knew that word well. It was the same word officials used in her academy file. Unpredictable, not a compliment. A warning. We're not asking for permission, she said. We're asking for peace. And if you can't offer it, then we'll make our own way and deal with the consequences. A pause followed. The silence stretched long enough to suggest finality. But then Marin stood. Her movement was fluid, almost like water learning to walk. The Concord must not fear evolution, she said, voice melodic and sharp. When we first discovered the fold, we were guided, not crushed. Let Earth prove its intentions, not by submission, but by action. Let them stand against the storm they helped awaken. The Valari were unmoved, but they did not object. And the storm came. Less than 4 hours after the tribunal recessed, the Kryn launched their assault. Not on Earth, but on the tribunal ship itself. Spectre 1 received the distress signal, while still in orbit. Ilara was already strapping into the pilot's seat when the ship shuddered under a pressure wave that bent nearby stars unnaturally. Fold disruptors, illegal tech, even among the most cutthroat empires. Multiple Kryn ships inbound. Kaido's voice crackled through the comm, a mixture of disbelief and grim vindication. They're bypassing Luna, going straight for the tribunal. They want to end this before it starts. Ilara's fingers danced over controls. Then we intercept. Spectre 1 is the only vessel with a jump vector tight enough to reach them mid-approach. Alone? Kaido asked. I won't be alone. He understood. Not with the resonator. Spectre 1 tore through the fold like a blade through silk. The passage was violent. Micro tears exploded around her hull. Sensors screamed warnings, but the coordinates held. Ilara emerged behind the Kryn formation, close enough that their rear turrets had no time to adjust. She fired without hesitation. The first ship erupted in a plume of ionic fire. The second veered off course, its shielding compromised by the fold residue. The others turned, angling their weapons toward her, but Ilara was already on the move, spiraling through the debris field like a wraith, her ship more ghost than vessel. "Commander," came a fractured voice on the open channel. "Marin, they've breached our shields, evacuation protocol failing." Ilara didn't respond. She accelerated. Spectre 1 dove into the heart of the Kryn formation, each movement guided more by instinct than instrumentation. She wasn't aiming to win. She was aiming to disrupt, to delay, to prove, once again, that Earth would not kneel. A Kryn torpedo clipped her wing. The ship bucked violently, control systems flickering. Alarm screamed. Coolant hissed from fractured vents. But the resonator held. She veered upward, weapons exhausted, hull compromised, and then a miracle. Earth's fleet emerged from fold space behind her. Kaido had done it. He'd sent the pulse signal to the outer colonies. Coordinated jumps. Dozens of Earth ships filled the void, primitive by Concord standards, but together, formidable. The Kryn were caught off guard. For the first time in centuries, they found themselves outmaneuvered by a species they had deemed prey. The tribunal ship stabilized. Marin's voice returned. Stronger now. Your world just changed the shape of the sector, Commander. Ilara grinned. Blood trickling down her temple, heart pounding. We tend to do that. Back on Luna, hours later, the tribunal reassembled. Tresk's tone was clipped, but his verdict was clear. Earth will not be destroyed, he said, nor shall it be contained. But you will be watched. Closely. Ilara accepted that. Freedom always came with shadows. Marin approached her after, offering a hand in that strange, fluid way of the Tollery. There are those who still fear what you represent. But some of us are beginning to hope. Ilara clasped her hand. Hope is dangerous. Marin smiled. So is defiance. Later, in her quarters, Ilara stared out at the stars. Somewhere beyond them, more threats waited, more enemies. But Earth was no longer alone, and they had proven one undeniable truth. No one knew Earth had FTL, until it was too late.